Everybody, hello. Hello, Madfest. Am I on? Can you hear me? Do put your little funky little headphones on if you can. You should be able to hear me much better with headphones on. It's a bit like being at a silent disco, but, you know, much hotter. Okay, how's everybody doing? Are we, like, melting? Are we keeping cool? Are we all right? Give me a wave, everyone, if you're just about standing up. Awesome. All right, welcome, everybody, to our second brand challenge of the day. Who was here earlier and caught the first one? Anybody? Oh, no, so you're all newbies. Welcome. If you don't know what we're doing today with the brand challenges, let me explain to you. We have a challenge, a naughty business challenge posed to us by our wonderful friends at L'Oreal, and we will have 5 startups, so 5 members of the brilliant innovation community that we have in the UK pitching solutions to that knotty problem that our friends at L'Oreal have got for us. Does that make sense? So you'll hear 5 startups pitch some really exciting solutions, and then our friends at L'Oreal are going to crown a winner. Does that all make sense? Brilliant. And just before I invite them on stage to tell us all about it, I want to tell you a little about us. We are CoCubed. We are hosting this wonderful house of innovation that's bringing together the most cutting-edge innovators in the kind of marketing and ad tech space. And I thought, how can I tell you a bit about us? Shall I do a mime? Shall I do a little dance? But I thought, let's go old-fashioned and go to moving pictures. So check this out. Awesome. And like I said, just behind the stage here are about 20 of some of the most cutting-edge innovators and startups in the marketing and ad tech world. So please come and talk to them, come and have a chat. And if you do a speed date, you stand the chance of winning a prize of your dream gig anywhere in the world. You can choose the gig, you can choose the city, probably not Oasis, but pretty much anything else. So come and talk to our innovators. If you like what you see on stage, there's plenty more where that came from. And I just wanted to give one last big shout out to our wonderful friends at the Next Tech Now team at Publicis who have helped make all this happen. So thank you. So let's get into it. I'm going to ask our friends at L'Oreal, Petros and Cyrielle, to come up on stage and tell you a bit about the problem that is keeping them up at night. Welcome. Big round of applause for Petros and Cyrielle. Woo-woo!
Woo! Hi everyone, afternoon. I am Petros and I'm the media director for L'Oreal UK and Ireland.
And I'm Cyrielle and I'm head of media integration for L'Oreal UK Ireland.
So a couple of words because I presume you know L'Oreal, but it's always good to give a reminder. So L'Oreal is the biggest beauty company in the world. We have over 37 brands in our portfolio. And we always strive and have a deep commitment for innovation, sustainability, and creating products that are actually useful for our consumers. So within our remit with Cyrielle, we are helping the brands navigate the extremely fragmented landscape within media, which is always evolving, as we all know. And we want to make sure that they always have a very effective but also future-facing strategy. So with that in mind, the challenge that we set, especially considering where we are in beauty, is that given the increasing demand for content creation, how can we develop a scalable strategy that balances authenticity, platform relevance, consumer needs, and environmental sustainability while fostering genuine engagement and relationships with both creators and consumers?
Wow, quite ambitious there. You didn't hold back.
Punchy one, yeah. Good luck to everyone.
And just before we bring on the startups that will be pitching to you, and then you'll crown the winner at the end, what are you looking for? What will make your jaw drop? What will make your eyes stand out
I think the expectation is we're probably going to hear the word AI quite a bit.
A little bit,
So
yeah.
we expect a bit something more elevated than
Sure.
that. So yeah, it's quite a tough one. We're here because we want to crack it. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you so much. Big round of applause for Petros and Cyrielle. So let's get started. Awesome. I'm going to ask to come to the stage a group of people that are really going to turn your fans into your most powerful brand advocates. Freddie from Jewel, come on up.
Hey everyone, I'm Freddie. I'm from a company called Jewel. Yeah, thanks for being here. We are a brand advocacy company. So what that means is we help brands grow through the people that love them. You know, when it comes to solving that particular problem of scaling content in a way that's authentic and speaks to particular customer needs while being sustainable, you know, really if we look at the brands who have really solved this challenge in a way that's really meaningful, they're industry leaders. They're really brands who, you know, the common thread is they've invested remarkably little in paid advertising as a growth strategy. And what they've done is actually deliberately invested in growing through the people that love them. You know, in terms of advocacy, if we just look at where it begins before we get into how it can be leveraged to drive things like content, most brands are pretty good at acquiring customers. They then do a pretty good job of turning those customers into loyal fans through offering great products, etc. For many brands, that's where the journey ends with a customer. For the best brands who are really leveraging these authentic advocates for content and more, they recognize that that's where the journey with a new customer begins. They've invested all of that value into a new customer. That customer's ready to advocate for them. And all the brand has to do is actually invest in developing a long-term ongoing relationship with that customer. So, you know, the way we do this, and we help brands, you know, predominantly in fashion and beauty, groups like Estee Lauder companies and Shiseido, what they're doing is actually, you know, building these high-scale armies of brand advocates to drive content. And scale really is the name of the game when you're talking about how to grow this into a channel that's actually meaningful. You know, we're not talking about a couple of hundred creators in a spreadsheet here who are being mailed, you know, gifts by a PR team. That's great. That can be impactful. The brands that we work with, we're helping them build armies of tens of thousands of people who are first and foremost customers, authentic fans of the brand, but just so happen to have something about their profile that gives them influence in their community. So maybe they are great creators, maybe they are native to a particular platform, Meta, TikTok, Snapchat, Pinterest. You know, wherever brands want to show up, you will have creators within your CRM, within your social network, who are on those platforms every day. They know how to create content that engages there. Maybe they are experts or professionals, like you know, dermatologists, professional makeup artists. What we help companies do is find and build these armies of high-scale advocates and leverage them to drive authentic content that actually engages. You know, we all know that word of mouth is the most traditional form of marketing. And really, there's no better place for that content to come from than people who authentically use, buy, or even, you know, sell or recommend your products as a professional to their own networks. So this is what Jewel does as a company. We have a tech platform that automates all of the management of these large-scale groups of advocates. And really, it's, you know, it's about getting these advocates in at scale and then segmenting, you know, getting the data on who are these people. Are they, you know, social creators who are native to TikTok? You know, we work with so many brands who are trying to capture that as a new platform. And so we help them discover those native TikTok creators who understand the platform, how to create content on there that engages. Maybe they're skincare experts who create a more educational style of content and a more of a trusted voice of the brand as opposed to a, you know, a general kind of awareness driving social creator. But really that is where we help brands solve this issue of scaling authentic content in a way that drives sustainable growth, is through tapping into authentic fans at scale. So thanks very much for your attention, everyone.
Thank you, Freddie. Guys, any questions or comments or thoughts for Freddie?
Hi, Freddie. Maybe one question. How would you link finding the right influencers for each of these clusters with the content they actually create and produce, and making the authentic link between the right influencer but also the right content?
Yeah, for sure. So linking the right influencer to the right content. So it's really, in the first instance, it's about recruiting at scale, because you need to get large numbers of influencers and creators into a program to understand who's who creates what kind of content. And then it's really about striking that balance between the brand's idea of what that type of content is that you want to see, but also letting the authenticity of the creator shine through. And if you get 10,000 influencers into a program, you will find, by virtue of a numbers game, several hundred or a couple of thousand people who line up aesthetically with the types of campaigns that you want to run as a brand. And it's a case of then spotlighting those and leveraging those for that particular campaign that you're looking to run.
Wonderful. Thank you, Freddie.
Oh, thanks very much.
Next up, we have... Oh, can I have a clicker? Thank you. Next up, we've got a company. It is AI, but they're doing actually some really smart stuff to help create and analyze campaigns. Elad, do you want to come and tell us more?
Hi. Okay, I now understand why Beyonce is taking her fans everywhere. I'm boiling. So we are Allison AI, and we turn creative into thousands of different data sets. I used to work at Meta. I was a regional director for e-commerce tech and telco, and one thing that we used to say at Meta is that creative is the most important thing, and I want to show you something that one of my ex-colleagues at Meta is now saying on stage very publicly.
So this is where we get to this idea that creative is the new targeting. Targeting is not the thing that's going to give you that competitive edge anymore. It is really all about how your creative shows up on our platforms, how creative you can be, that is going to give you that performance edge. And in fact, creative is often the most important factor when it comes to predicting the audience your ad will reach and the price that you pay for that ad. Over 56% of auction outcomes can be attributed to creative. I actually think it's a little higher than this these days. And the thing is, we don't need the army of data scientists anymore. We need to be creative.
We don't need army of data scientists, we need to be creative. So creative is the most important thing, and not only Meta is saying that. Nielsen did a research on what contributes the most to achieving any media KPI. And you can see in the light blue, creative is the most important thing, more than targeting, more than reach, more than even brand assets. And when it comes to digital marketing, weak creative contributes only 16%. Average creative contributes 60%, and strong creative contributes 89%, more than media buying, more than brand. So creative is the most important thing. And the question is, what eventually makes a creative a strong one? So we know that creative is the new optimization. We know that creative predicts audience and engagement. We know that strong creative means that you reduce dependency on media buying, and what makes creative strong. And this is what we do at Allison. So Allison breaks creative into thousands of different elements. Anything you can think of, we can tie that with media KPI and understand how all of these things are correlating to success, to any media KPIs. And we are obsessed with that. And this is a checklist of few of the things that we can identify, starting with simple things like logo, colors, text position, background. For example, we can tell you that if you move the logo from right-hand side to left-hand side, ROAS will grow by 23%. Then we're moving into things around product, how the product is being presented, being consumed, what's the value proposition, what's the product color. Should you present a red lipstick or an orange lipstick? Then we're moving to the story. Character variation, which character is there? What's the character pose? Should they stand, sit? Should we have a close-up on their face? Different events, different environments, different outfit ideas, or different makeup ideas. Then we move into the structure, so we even understand the structure of the creative. We can understand how the transition pace, how many amounts of scenes are in the creative. We can also understand that, duration, format, and then the concept itself. What's the atmosphere? What's the concept? What's the type of messaging? And even influencers. So how each and every one of the influencers is contributing to achieving results. And eventually, our offer to L'Oreal is that we're doing bespoke analysis, creative by creative, brand by brand, where we are automatically identifying thousands of different elements. We can compare their performance per platform. What working on Google won't work on Meta or TikTok, etc. Understand which creative feature perform per audience, concept, or stage of the funnel. We are also doing live analysis of creatives and also pre-flight. And we're doing competitor analysis where we can understand your competitors' creatives and see which features they're using. And the outcome is understand customer needs because we know what consumers want from you. We can save cost in creative production because you know what to include in the creative. Fast to market because we know what's working and we're very much time sensitive and platform sensitive. We have proven records of increasing ROAS and increasing media KPIs. And eventually, we are creating data-backed playbook for creative teams. So it's not A/B testing, it's not gut feeling, it's understanding creative in the deepest way possible.
Thank you, Elad. Round of applause. Guys, any thoughts or questions for Elad around this sort of structuring creativity?
Super clear, and it's actually very relevant because how you open with the creative is the new targeting is something that we are actually actively discussing at the moment. So, no questions. Yeah, really good.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Elad. Give that to me. So, next up, give that to the next person. Next up, we have a team who are doing some quite interesting things in real precision sampling. Ollie, do you want to tell us more?
Love to.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Thank you very much. Thanks, CoCube, and thank you, L'Oreal. I think anybody that knows the brand L'Oreal or could make a quick search online will work out pretty quickly that L'Oreal, you're already doing some really cool things in the world of influencers and making some really good content. But one thing is true, right? When it comes to making that kind of real, authentic content at scale, it's tough. 68% of marketers say that they struggle with making not only authentic content, but authentic content at scale. And 68%, that's a good chunk of the people probably in this room. Now, what's really interesting about that statistic is kind of baked into that 68% are two really interesting questions, right? The first is, boots on ground, how do we make the content? How do we make enough content for all 37 brands across probably different geographies? Where do we get the people from? And the next question is, not just how do we make the content, but how do we make it so that it's high converting? How do we make it so that it's exciting, engaging, maybe even authentic? Influencer kind of marketing and media, just as a medium, has always been really challenging, right? Because there's this delay between that trigger point when someone engages with the brand and then ultimately when they have the opportunity to buy it. And it's in that mucky middle ground that customers get distracted, there's a delay, sometimes we lose visibility. So what we do is work with brands like Nivea and Inky to help them solve that. We are not a UGC agency. We don't have a network of 5,000 influencers that we send a product to that they talk about a new product every single week. We work with you to find your ideal customers, high intent, real world customers that are excited about the brand, and then get them talking and sharing about your brand in the real world. So the obvious question is, how do we do that? Well, let's give a kind of real world example of how we might work, and let's take the Men Expert product line. Someone might come in and see an ad, maybe on TikTok, Snapchat, Pinterest, wherever it might be, and they might click that ad because they're interested in getting a sample. What we'll then do is work to find out a lot more information about that person, not just where we should send the sample, but who are they? What do they like? What are their preferences? What brands do they use? Anything that we might want to learn about that individual to help us in the future, not just to work out if they're a good fit for the campaign, but to help us market to them a little bit later. They will then get that sample, and it may even include a QR code that says something like, share your routine, win a reward, or something that may incentivize that real person at home to share some real content. We'll then serve them a journey after that gets them excited, that's personalized to them, that talks about the reason they were interested in the sample in the first place. They will then submit that UGC, which you can, of course, share online. And what's really cool about this is in the background, while this is all happening, just by the nature of how we work, because we have such engagement and so many touch points with our customers, we can also be doing things like generating marketing opt-ins. We can be driving certain behaviors in those customers. We can be pushing them to different places. This is a really cool example of what that might look like. Not only do we serve this in a nice way where we can get customers to submit content, we do it with some really, really cool conversion rates. And this is the kind of stuff we're doing with Nivea and with Inky. So I guess my last slide would be, not only with a sampling campaign will you get real content from real human beings who are interested in the product, we do it in a way that lends itself to generating things like first-party data, so you can understand your customers, generating marketing opt-ins, pushing desired behavior in those customers, reviews on TikTok. One of the really big pieces of work we do is twofold. We make sure that every single person that gets a sample is a real customer, so we make sure we're not wasting any samples, and we make sure that we use sustainable packaging. And last but not least, you'll see on the screen, we do all of this in a genuinely market-leading analytics platform where you can track absolutely everything that's happening in that campaign to make sure you're getting ROI.
Thank you. Round of applause for Ollie. So, Cyrielle, Petros, what do we think about that? You probably use sampling quite a lot anyway, but scale, data-driven, what are your thoughts?
Just one question, because I think sampling is a big thing in our industry, but it's also that there's a community of mass samplers and just people that redeem sampling just as a sport. How do we ensure we target this towards just valuable consumers at the end and not just mass samplers that are going to just get the products and that's it? There's no tail to it.
I love it. So the question is, you probably all heard it, you've got headphones on actually, but the question is, how do we make sure the right people get the right samples and they're not just going to a community? So I think it's a massive question. We don't have like a network of samplees that get dog food one day, L'Oreal the next day. We go out and actually find those customers for you by layering into things like Meta, CRM, social posting. When that customer comes in, we've got a really cool piece of tech that lets you work out for Men Expert who is the right customer. How old are they? How much do they spend on their skincare? What skin concerns do they have? And with that bit of tech, we can exclude or include people into the sampling campaign. So only people that fit that customer profile get a sample.
Nice. And Petros, you had a follow-up question. No, that was it. Awesome. Ollie, thank you very much. Okay, Mudfest, how are we doing? Are people still staying cool? We've had 3 of our 5 startups. People all right? Give me a nod if you're just about okay. Good? All right. Okay, next up, number 4, I'd like to invite onto the stage our wonderful friends at Thomesen, who have some really interesting psychographic profiling going on. Come on up. Oh, he's over there. You got the clicker. Oh, can someone grab us the clicker? Someone run off with the clicker? Ooh. Ooh. Clicker? Sorry, guys, we seem to have lost the clicker. Ollie had it in his pocket, running off like a little thief. Okay, all right. Take it away.
Briefing creators is hard. They speak different language. They live in different country. They have different interests. Belong to very different demographic groups. But what if we could use AI to come up with the communication strategies that are tailored to each market on a fly and based on the data of that market? Hi, my name is Alex Farsiv. I'm a CEO and co-founder of SoMonitor, the platform that helps brands to create authentic yet relevant communication strategies by analyzing creative data on the market and tying it to the brand communication guidelines. But how do we do that? On the first step, the platform analyzes lots of data. There will be your creator data, the creator data of your competitors in the UK, in Japan, in Korea, in France, in Brazil, everywhere in the world. It will analyze what people click on an image. It will analyze a very deep profile of every content piece, from what kind of audience it's addressed to what kind of product is mentioned there, as well as interest and discounts are applied inside there. Then the platform will break down this content in actionable communication personas, the tensions, and the pain points. So you will know the blind spot that you need to address in every single market. And from there, you can start brief your teams already. On the next step, our platform will start building a stories for each market, draw actionable insight from these stories, and then eventually helping you to marry those stories to their marketing theories from zoology all the way to behavioral economics, so that your teams don't need to open their marketing books, but they can just rely on the tech and do it instantly. Finally, the platform will justify each of the detected persona with the global web index data, which were integrated globally, so that you will know what you want to fine-tune in every market, in your pitch, but also which channels you want to show your content and which influencers to work with. Just look at Mazakir example in Singapore. She have reduced the time for briefing by 5 times. So you can. All this data is monitored for you now, so you can test it today, and you can apply it to your company tomorrow. So don't wait. Take a look at another case study here that will help you to build communication strategy for your creators in every single market in an authentic and engaging way. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. So what do we think of that, Petros? Any questions for Alex? Or?
Yeah, so thanks for that. We had a question actually in terms of like obviously when it comes to the social platforms, there's a lot of there's a lot of trends that obviously we want to kind of like tap into because we might have relevant products, etc. How would that work? Because this requires quite a lot of like work in the background, or like, but how do we actually help? How can it help us capitalize a bit more on those trends?
Well, for every single country, we will analyze thousands of those influencers belong to your industry. So we will keep and discover the trends on the fly. When you use with large language models, which is starting under the hood, is actually capable of identifying new categories that may have not been unseen and then highlighting them to you so you can work with them. And then we also integrated with Google Trends and other sources of data that will help us to pick up those trends from other types of platforms around there. But you would also need to confirm whether this trend actually have the audience behind, and that's why we have GWI, to see whether that trend have legs and whether that's actual audience in each of the markets that would respond to this trend, and your campaign will be effective. This is how we will build the strategy 360, and we automated all this in one platform.
Nice. So a trend's not just a trend, it's got to be the right trend. Thank you, Alex. Yep. Round of applause for Alex. Give me that plus up to the next person. Cool. Are you doing all right? Everyone okay? Everyone has enough water? Last one, guys. We're nearly there. You've done brilliantly with your stamina and keeping just awake in the heat. Very, very last, but certainly not least, we've got a team who will turn UGC into your superpower. Ollie, do you want to come up?
Hello, hello, hello. Hey, everyone. Hey, L'Oreal. Nice to meet you. I'm Ollie, co-founder of Whisper, where we turn consumers into content creators for user-generated content at scale. Now, the challenge you presented to us today is one that we hear every week at Whisper. With more platforms, you've got an increased demand for more content. But how do you scale that and still maintain what makes content really work? Authenticity and creativity. And it's tough out there because traditional content channels are failing. Branded content is super expensive and it looks and feels like an ad, so consumers are scrolling straight past. And influencers aren't much better. 88% of consumers now say they don't trust influencer content whatsoever. And ambassador platforms, they reward loyalty, but they don't reward creativity. In the meantime, user-generated content is winning. 84% of consumers say they trust a brand more when they use user-generated content. And 93% of consumers say they use UGC to validate their final purchasing decision. And good news for you, 86% of marketers say they see a positive return on investment for both paid and organic use of UGC. But with more creators, it means it's even harder to scale. So that's where we come in at Whisper. At Whisper, we turn your brand community into a scalable content engine. Using our tech platform, we can invite your customers as well as find existing consumers of yours in our massive 15,000 UGC creator database to build a creative community around your brand. Our creative strategy, along with their creativity, delivers a consistent flow of authentic content. And the best part is, it's all fully licensed in perpetuity for your use across paid, organic, retail, media, e-com, everywhere. L'Oreal, you'll never have to worry about where your next winning piece of content is going to come from again. No hours spent on a management platform, no follow-ups to usage rights, just solid content. And that's exactly why Panasonic came to us as well. They needed authentic content to scale their beauty and personal care line. So in the few months we've been working together, we've delivered over 190 authentic short-form video UGC, which on the creator's profile alone has delivered over 200,000 organic views and a whopping 46% organic view rate because they relate to their consumers more. But the best part is what's happened behind paid. Our assets behind their paid strategy has dropped their cost per click from £1 down to just 8 pence. And all their best performing content is ours, with the best performers reaching a 20x return on ad spend. And I'm really happy to say that that's why this campaign has been shortlisted not only for best use of UGC at the UK Social Media Awards in 2025, but also best use of paid social. And of course, because it's made by real consumers at home, it's the most sustainable and scalable content strategy possible. L'Oreal, you have an army of creators waiting for you, and their creative talent is completely untapped. To unlock it, no need to shout, just whisper. Thank you.
Well done, Ollie, and big prize to Ollie for saying UGC so many times during that. Well done. Guys, what do we think of that? You probably have a lot of creators that you work with. You create a lot of UGC. What's the scale potential?
Because you mentioned about, thanks, very clear. But my question was, you talk about turning our consumers basically into creators, right? And that's like how we scale. But how do you actually find the consumers, considering like most of the L'Oreal brands are not D2Cs, they are sold via retailers, etc. So how do you source them to begin with?
Yeah, that's a great question. And most of the clients we work with are retail brands as well. So Mars, Unilever, Panasonic, and a lot more. So the way that we source them is in two ways. Firstly, we have an always ongoing accumulation of consumers that are the most creative ones, untapped, not big influencers, regular people who love to create content. We also locate within our database which consumers have already bought your product, so we don't have to sample, we don't have to do anything, they're already got your product and we can activate them straight away. But our tech tool can also invite them to a dedicated community, either via you posting on your socials or an email strategy or a QR code on the product in store, so they can sign up to a dedicated community and become part of your content engine.
Nice. Anything from Cyrielle? Awesome. Thank you, Ollie.
Thank you.
Right. So we're getting to the crunchy bit now. We've seen 5 amazing innovations and solutions. Cyrielle and Petros are going to have a little think and decide who the winner is. I'm going to give them a couple of moments. And I'm going to just say thank you again for joining us on probably the hottest day of the year, maybe of the century. I will remind you again that the people you saw on stage are just the tip of the iceberg of the amazing innovators that are out there in our industry at the moment. Please come and talk to them next door. Get yourself a gig anywhere in the world. I like to think MadFest is like Glastonbury, but with a bit more AI. So thank you again for your patience, your stamina, your wonderful smiles and nodding faces. I'm going to look over. Deep in thought. They look like they need a couple more minutes, or have you got... I think we're allowed. Okay, we'll give them a couple more minutes. But what amazing stuff have we seen? We've seen UGC, we've seen creators and influencers. We've seen a fair bit of AI, but maybe AI applied in some quite new, interesting ways. We've seen sampling, and a big shout out to, was it Ollie from Sample who talked about sustainable packaging, because we know sustainability is really important, and I know it's important to L'Oreal as well. So big shout out for sustainability. I think it's been a wonderful session. Please come back tomorrow because we've got Jack Daniels, we've got Clarins, we've got the Lego Group, which is so fun. We've got some brilliant brand challenges tomorrow. I really hope you've enjoyed today. I think you guys have a winner. Come on stage and tell us who your winner is.
Thanks to everyone, by the way, for those presentations. Quite snappy. And it's quite reassuring, actually, what you guys were presenting, that like all the topics that you covered were actually super, super relevant to how, like, what we're thinking, tools that we're developing, how we're approaching things. So big thank you. I'll let Cyrielle announce the winner. So yeah.
So we've decided as a winner, and that person was already talking our language, I think, that it would be Alison AI.
Alison AI, Elad, come up on stage. Congratulations. Big round of applause for Alison AI. Thank you. Little photo. Have we got a photo? Anyone want a photobomb our photo? No? We've got Elise, our roving photographer, ready to capture this wonderful moment. Congrats, guys. Oh, you okay? Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to touch you there. Sorry. Awesome. Well, whilst these guys are getting touched up on stage, again, a huge thank you. That is the end of this brand challenge. Thank you to L'Oreal. Thank you to the Publicis team. Thank you to all of you. Please come and find us again tomorrow morning, 11 o'clock. Thank you.